Achieving a gorgeous grin from home isn't a total mystery with Bite Clear aligners. Just don't be surprised if all of your sleuthing friends start asking, "What's your secret?" Begin by ordering your at-home impression kit today for only $14.95. Bite Clear aligners are doctor-directed and delivered to your door. Treatment costs thousands less than braces. Plus, they offer flexible financing, accept eligible insurance, and you can pay with your HSA FSA. Get 80% off your impression kit when you use code WONDERY at Byte.com. That's BYTE.com. Start your confidence journey today with Byte.
Are you struggling to close deals? Cold outreach is wasting the time of both the buyer and seller at every stage, especially when sellers are using shallow and outdated data. Your organization can overcome these challenges with technology that translates comprehensive, high-quality buyer data into real-time insights. These deeper insights empower sales reps and teams to adopt the habits of top performers, which leads to better outcomes, like more pipeline, higher win rates, and larger deals. We call this deep sales. And we've built the first deep sales platform with the next generation of LinkedIn Sales Navigator. Right now, you can try LinkedIn Sales Navigator and get a 60-day free trial at linkedin.com/trial. That's linkedin.com/trial for a 60-day free trial. Let LinkedIn Sales Navigator help you sell like a superstar today. Just go to linkedin.com/trial and get started.
This episode is sponsored by AutoTrader. There's a good chance you're driving right now. Look around. Safely. What do you see? Cars. Lots of them. And guess what? They're probably on AutoTrader. Whether you're into timeless classics or the latest trends. Did somebody say solar-powered, eco-friendly, vegan, leather-wrapped, aromatherapy-scented, disco ball-equipped, self-driving car? If you see it on the road, you can likely find it on AutoTrader. Big cars, small cars, blue cars, new cars, used cars, electric cars, and one day, maybe even flying cars. With millions to choose from, buying a car becomes a whole lot easier. See it, find it, AutoTrader. Find your next car on autotrader.com.
This episode brought to you by the following patrons: Leaf Girl, Min, Sex Caliber Bones a Lot, Madeline, Alyssa, Vixen, Holly, Natasha, Laura, Jeremy with the laser eyes, Allie, Logan, Libby, Aaron, Kristen, Amy, Tia, Jonathan, and Isaac. And all the patrons want you to know you're loved, you're listened to, and you're a valuable member of this awesome Horror Virgin community. And if you want to hang out with us, do so in the Facebook group where we'll be hanging out daily.
Thank you for tuning into Horror Virgin. I'm Paige.
And I'm your Horror Virgin Todd, which means I don't like scary movies, but you guys make me watch them. And this week, Paige made us watch Freaky! But it should be called Freaky Friday the 13th.
Exactly. That's the log line for this movie. When they went to go pitch it to get people to read the script, was Freaky Friday the 13th, 100%.
Oh, shit, it was? It was actually the log line?
Oh, I assume.
Oh, okay.
Because I don't have a fun fact around that, but I assume.
Oh, okay. Because, that would be the best elevator pitch ever.
Right.
But anyway, Paige, was this the first time you saw this movie?
No, I watched this during pandemic at home.
I mean, it came out in 2020.
Yeah, it came out in 2020. And I remembered feeling like, what a cute little fun teen horror comedy that is way bloodier than anyone would expect.
Yeah.
I had a good time. And honestly, I had a good time watching it last night too, where I was like, yeah, I didn't remember most of the movie from when I had watched it in 2020. I just remembered the vibes where I was like, I remember it being probably one of my favorite Vince Vaughn performances. And I remembered it being fun and short. And my voice has limits. So, fun and short is a good place for me to be.
Paige, not only have you used exactly my log line anytime I'm on a dating app, but I also loved this movie. I thought it was very funny.
It's very fun.
I literally just said on our Mr. and Mrs. Smith episode on Romancing the Pod that Vince Vaughn always plays the same character, and we should just let him be called Vince in every movie he does. This is I think one of the first time he acts, and he crushes it. He does a great job.
Yes. I argued that it's fun that he does his thing, but I would love to see him do other things. and then remembered this movie, which is why we're doing it.
Yeah.
But I think his performance in this movie is great. Like, he's not playing normal Vince Vaughn.
No.
He's playing at least his version of her.
Yes.
And I think he does so well. There are so many fun scenes of him just like, he becomes a girl in Vince Vaughn's body, and I fucking love it.
I bought it. I was into it. I thought it was great.
Yeah.
I thought it was really funny when like the reveal happens and he like is in front of her mirror seeing himself in her body and he grabs the boobs.
Yes.
And then he like starts to move his hands down lower and it like the scene just like ends.
Yeah.
I thought that shit was funny. I was like, thank God it cut.
Oh, yeah. No, I really enjoyed this. Well, and I think, like, for as much as this is a comedy, etc., like, from an acting perspective, he took it seriously.
Oh, yeah.
And, like, really did it.
Paige, when he and Booker are in the back seat and they kiss.
Oh, my God. It's my favorite.
I mean, they actually are like, they both look really into it. I think they're both doing a great job acting.
Oh, they both kissed. Oh, yeah. And I love Catherine Newton. This just made me want to watch Lisa Frankenstein again, which we have not done on the show, but I enjoyed very, very much. Even though this was one of those, sometimes Mikey and I have a very different feeling about the same movie. And Mikey hated Lisa Frankenstein, but called me from the theater and was like, you're going to love it. And boy, was he right. But it made me want to watch Lisa Frankenstein again because she's hilarious in that as well.
Yeah, she's Lisa from Lisa Frankenstein in that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Oh, man. I love the way this movie does a great job of making pretty much every person that dies a terrible person.
Oh, my God.
Like immediately before they die.
Yes.
Like when the butcher as Millie kills the 3 rapists at the dance or whatever party at the end. I was like, I think technically this is self-defense.
And you're like, good.
Like, I'm not even sure.
Right?
Like, I mean, it might be a little too much self-defense.
It's a little preemptive.
But like, I don't know. Like he does say some really rapey shit. Like I would,
oh, yeah.
if I was Millie in that situation, fear for my safety.
I would say, if we're going with the legal definitions of self-defense, he asked and she did not answer yes or no. She just murdered them. So like no forcing had happened yet or even attempted, but we knew it was gonna. And so the movie, gives you what you want.
All I'm saying is if you had to pick one of us to be your lawyer in that situation, you'd want it to be me. Because I'd be like, she feared for her life and had to stand her ground, Your Honor.
Absolutely, because here's the thing. I think if she tried to run, they would have chased her, like 100%.
Oh, yeah, you better run.
But I feel like you'd lose that case.
You feel like I'd lose that case?
Yes.
Paige, you don't even believe the closet full of gloves I'm going to have this lady try on. Like, there's no way she's going to go to jail for this. Are you kidding me?
Here's the only reason why I think you might lose the case. She didn't give them a chance to try and physically move forward to her at all.
Yeah. Like what you're saying is a timing issue that I will just say.
Sure.
Listen, they did come at her. We have no proof they didn't come at her.
There's no cameras.
Just because she doesn't have marks on her body doesn't mean they didn't try to put marks on her body.
Sure.
And I will, if I could just think of a rhyme right now, I would be Johnny Cochran.
There you go. That's true. But yeah, that gets way bloodier. She cuts Connor Roy in half.
Holy shit, when she cut Connor Roy in half, I was like, it's about time. Like, what? This guy has been the biggest asshole to her since the beginning. And he's her teacher, Paige.
Right.
He is a monster villain. Like, that's what I mean. The movie does a great job of making you hate all the people right before they die.
I wonder what I saw that I was thinking of that was not this, because I had remembered once I was watching this again and they introduced him. I was like, oh, right. He's the teacher and he's an asshole. I remembered her coming in and it being a weirder undertone of him being an asshole because he's attracted to her. And that never happens in this movie. And I'm like, what movie am I thinking of?
I mean, I got that vibe though, too.
You got that vibe though,
yes.
right? Yeah.
Yes. I don't think you're wrong about that.
Yeah.
Although it doesn't actually implicitly state that. But it does seem like he really singles her out.
Yeah, for no good reason either, because she's not really doing anything.
No. She's grieving that she lost her dad a year ago. Like, shut the fuck up, Connor Roy. You're the worst. But when he's even yelling at her about, like, not having her Casa del Fido or whatever built.
Yeah, not having her doghouse done.
It was crazy to me because she was like, you said I had till the 16th.
16th, yeah.
And he never said, no, I didn't, or refuted that he said you had till the 16th.
No.
And then berated her for not turning in her assignment early?
Yeah. That, ooh.
Anyway,
Yeah.
when he's the one that got split in half in that scenario,
Yes.
I was all right with it.
Sure.
Because I was like, you're terrible. You can die immediately.
He is terrible. And actually, like, to a degree, when it didn't happen that way, and part of this is the face-off of it all, because this movie is also kind of face-off. The face-off of it, of like, he's wearing her skin, and he still doesn't really know how to function in her skin. He doesn't, he's always like, she's so weak. Like, what do I do?
Oh, and she's the opposite. I like that incorporation.
I liked that a lot.
Yeah.
But one of the other ones is that she doesn't really seduce anyone.
Okay, if I was in a woman's body and I had to seduce someone from a woman's perspective,
Right.
And Paige, I want to preface this by saying I'm terrible at seducing someone from a man's perspective.
Right.
But if you had said seduce someone and you put me in her body, that person would think I was trying to kill them because I would not have any idea how to go about it in a way that is not super fucking creepy. You know what I'm saying?
Well, and even in times when you think she might seduce someone, like that one guy who like grabs her butt and she's going to kill him, obviously later in the movie,
Yeah.
because then Todd's going to be her defense attorney.
Yes.
But she leans over to him and basically is just like, you make women's pussies so dry, I can't wait to kill you. Like, and like she's not hitting on him at all, but then she just kind of looks over her shoulder and walks away and men follow. But like, at no point is she like honeypotting anybody.
No.
She's just like, I'm going to walk over here with a knife. And they follow.
She does sort of honeypot that guy, but only because he's an idiot. Like, it's not like she is not putting out signals at all. He's just an idiot.
And he walks up because it's a pride thing. And he's like, I've never made a woman's pussy dry. And she says nothing. And he's like, let's fucking go.
I do love that his refuting of that was like, no, man. I totally never made a P word dry or whatever.
Yeah.
It's so fun. And then he gets murdered. So it's great.
Well, yeah, he gets murdered, but he's just like, you down? Come on. She said nothing. She just follows because at that point, she's going to kill him. We know. But like, yeah, even then she's not seducing people, which I found really fun.
Paige, this is going to sound terrible, and I apologize before I say it. But when it was revealed that they were probably going to try and rape her, the three guys, I was like, oh, thank God. Because like, it really made them villains. And I knew right in that moment that, oh, they're going to die right now. They're going to die right now. I mean, even the people at the beginning are so rich, I already didn't like them. Like the guy who owns the house, which I guess he lives because he's out of the house, but his kids and his kids' friends or whatever.
Right. They all die.
I know. But they're so rich. They have like, I can engage in embezzlement speculation rich. Like,
oh, sure.
I'm buying a lot of high-end art and a lot of like high-end wines.
Yeah.
Which is like really just an excuse for rich people to embezzle back and forth.
Yeah. No, he's the owner of Hobby Lobby for sure. Yeah. Here's the thing with those three guys. Up until then, we've seen that one guy be a douchebag, but that's his only crime. It's not murderable. And then in that scene, we see him at minimum introduce an unplanned threesome scenario that she did not consent to when she went to the alley. Foursome, right, because she's one of the four.
Yeah.
Right.
Because she is a person, Paige.
I was thinking of three holes. Yeah, no, I get it.
Although technically he, right? Because it's the butcher in Millie's body.
And they do correct pronouns a couple times.
I do love that they call out pronouns. Yeah, I do love that too. I was like, I mean, the butcher hasn't stated what pronouns they prefer in this body. So I don't know.
Sure.
But also a murderer. So just do your best and then kill him later.
Right. But yeah, so at best, they have introduced a scenario in which she has not consented. They have not consented because serial killer in the body. And they have not offered their opinions on it yet. At worst, they were going to rape her and make it happen regardless. And so you're not really mad.
And Your Honor, I would like the record to show that even the prosecutor stipulated that it was a possibility of rape.
Of course. The reason they do that is so that when they get fucking brutally murdered.
Yes.
You're like, hell yeah.
Yeah, I know, and you love it. And Paige, the reason I'm doing this is because I don't want Millie to actually go to jail. And the defense of,
oh, yes.
Your Honor, have you seen Freaky Friday? It's like that, but a slasher is not going to hold up in court.
Have you seen Freaky Friday? Have you also seen Friday the 13th?
I'm doing my best here, Paige.
I think they're going to blame all bodies on the killer. And I don't think she's going to end up going to court at all except for a victim statement.
I honestly do think they shoot it in a way where all of her kills are unseen by observers.
Right.
Or cameras, right? So like, I do think there is plausible deniability, especially because a lot of the times people die. It is Millie, right?
Millie.
Yeah. Millie in the butcher's body is also where Butcher in the Millie's body is.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So it's like, okay, they were both there. It could have been the Butcher in Millie's body.
It could have been either.
You know, yeah. Or vice versa. So yeah.
Yeah.
I do think my case won't be nearly as hard because charges probably never would have been brought.
Yeah, I unfortunately don't think you're getting hired because I don't think she's going to need you.
But that just means I'm available for any defense case out there if you want to hire someone who can really ruin it for your client. Just give me a call.
I was going to say, it was like, you want to try and defend the Butcher? See, Your Honor, he was inside her body and then they said the 3 holes thing. And like, honestly, that's not good. So he acted in his own self-interest to preserve his physical safety.
Paige, last time I went and did this sort of defense, the judge had to ask me to not take a microphone out of my pocket and drop it at the end of my testimony. They were like, it's not even plugged in. You can't do an unplugged in mic drop.
Just one of the tiny influencer microphones. Just like,
it's like an inch tall.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, did you drop a paperclip? No, it was a mic. It doesn't have a cool effect, but yeah, sorry, Judge. Sorry, Your Honor.
There you go.
Oh my God. Okay. I have one question before we get started, and it's more of an overarching question about the mom because I had very real concerns, and I realized that she is grieving. She lost her husband.
Of course.
Probably of like 20 years because her older sister is like...
He's older. Yeah.
I mean, honestly, probably like 25 years because her sister's probably 21, 22, 23.
Right.
Around there, right? Anyway, my concern is how many people has she tried to like Love is Blind through the door of her fitting rooms?
Oh, I hope that's the first.
Oof, it seems like she does this often.
I feel like everyone who's been single for a long time has one time where they were like, I thought there were vibes and I asked somebody and it backfired.
Paige, yes, that totally happens.
Yeah, but this is a whole, because she literally through the dressing room, as this person's probably like, I just want to try these polo shirts on. I hope that's the first one. And the last one, personally.
I thought that scene was so funny. And especially when like she was like trying to let her mom down easy. And it was like, oh, I couldn't do just coffee because, you know, I'd love to have dinner with you, but I'm married. I can't. I'm married or whatever.
Right.
I thought that shit was very funny.
Well, and that's a great way to get out of it, I guess. But yeah, I was like, oh no.
You could also set it up to have your older daughter run in and say that the butcher's on the loose, so you have to run out of there having just had an embarrassing moment, which honestly would be a great way to get out of like a bad date or any really embarrassing situation. Anytime I like make a bad joke at work or whatever, I just need Mikey to run in and be like, oh, they found the Texas Strangler. We got to get him. And then I can get up and run out of the room.
Genovia were Nazis and then like run away.
We found the Genovian gold. Okay, sorry. Yeah, I'm so sorry.
It's been in the Swiss banks this whole time.
It's always been at the Swiss banks page.
What did you say to recover from asking somebody out and having it go immediately bad? And I'm saying like you just met this person, but you're feeling the vibe. You're like, I'm going to shoot my shot. And it goes bad.
What did I say to recover? I didn't really say anything to recover. I was just like, oh, I am so sorry. Please ignore me. And then I left them alone because they weren't into it.
Okay. Yeah. No, that's appropriate. Yeah.
But no, I mean, I was just like, oh, shit. I'm so sorry. I thought there were. Yeah. Okay. No, it's cool. It's cool. What happened was, fuck, Paige, I don't want to. Her girlfriend was sitting next to her. And I was just like, oh, these two friends they're like really friendly with each other. And that one's real cute. Anyway, it backfired. And then I left. I was just like, oh, Dennis, I gotta go.
No, mine was I had to go get my headlights checked for like a fix-it ticket. And so you have to like go to not a regular police station, but one where they just like, yes, your lights are fixed. We sign off on this.
Why were you getting a mammogram at a police station? Wait, what kind of headlights are you talking about?
My car. On my car.
Oh, my bad. Okay. You're saying you get your headlights checked. I was like, yeah, you probably do. It's closing in on that time.
Yes, yeah, eventually. On my car, the cop came out and he was like super nice, super cute, and was just like, yeah. And we were like about the same age or whatever. And I was just like, cool, great, thanks. He's like, you got all the stuff. Call me if you need anything. I was like, all right. And I like left. I was like, fuck it, YOLO. And I like called back to the station and was like,
oh, Paige,
hey, just so you know, you're super cute. I was just there. And he's like, thank you. My wife thinks so too.
Oh, no.
And I was like, that's great. I'm really happy for you both. And then I hung up the phone.
I mean, that's probably the best way to handle it, Paige.
Right? I was like, good for her. Click. But yeah, it's happened to all of us. Although never a fitting room one. I did catch people trying to have sex in a fitting room when I worked in a clothing store, though.
I mean, why would you ever? That's disgusting. I could never possibly do that.
Here's the thing.
Again.
They just picked the wrong kind of clothing store, is what I will say. Because these rooms were literally, like, you could see their feet underneath. Like, other shoppers were like, we can hear the moans, by the way. And I was on go backs from the fitting rooms and had to be like, hey, knock it off.
It's like dumping water over bailing water over onto them.
Well, we also had keys, so we could unlock a fitting room at any time.
Why would you want to, though, Paige? I mean, for the cops, maybe, but like, I wouldn't want to go in there. I wouldn't be like, hey, you guys need a third.
No. But it was enough to be like, yo, just so you guys know, it's one person at a time, and I do have a key.
Nice.
And they were like, we'll be right out. I was like, thank you.
And he's just like, I need 3 minutes. Just give me 3 minutes.
3 minutes.
Just like the guy in this movie. Paige, maybe we should go to this movie, Scene by Wonderful Scene.
Scene by Wonderful Scene. We open on Wednesday, the 11th, in a cold open with no credits. You're welcome.
I want to point out, I was as shocked that it was Wednesday the 11th as I was this Wednesday when it was Wednesday the 11th, because I hadn't started editing the Friday the 13th episode yet, and I was like, shit, does that need to come out this Friday?
Yeah.
I lost my mind that morning. Anyway, didn't sleep much the next 2 days. You're welcome.
Full disclosure, we're recording this on Saturday the 15th or 14th.
14th, Paige. That's how numbers work.
Oh, yeah. No, at the doctor's yesterday, I signed everything the 12th because I'm a mess.
Because she's tristodecaphobic.
Yeah, that's what's up. I didn't know that there was a word for it, but thank you.
Isn't that it? Being afraid of 13?
I don't know.
I don't know. I'm not a Templar Knight. I don't care.
I didn't bury treasure in Oak Island. There was a marathon on while I was sick, and they're always like, it's the Templars. I'm like, it's not the fucking Templars. It might be aliens, but like, it's not the Templars.
It's more likely aliens.
It's more likely aliens.
But that's why Friday the 13th is a thing, the Templars. Well, not the Templars. Really the Catholic Church murdering the Templars, but whatever.
See, I actually did not realize that connection, but that makes a lot of sense now that you say it.
Have you not seen the Da Vinci Code page? That's where I learned it.
Oh, yeah, then I don't know if that's true at all.
No, it is. I looked it up.
Is it? Okay,
Yeah.
I read the book, The Da Vinci Code. I've never really seen the movie.
Well, it's also in there. I mean...
but I also read it 20 years ago.
I know, yeah.
I'm sure I missed that part, but that makes sense.
But the way my brain works is like, if something happens and it sounds like it might be a fact, I'll like go look it up.
You go research
Yeah.
it? Same.
And like half
Same.
the time, totally not. I'm like, oh, of course Godzilla wasn't at Bikini Atoll. I'm an idiot. I'm sorry.
I mean, if you're watching the Japanese Godzilla films,
And I was at the time.
if you view them as documentaries.
As we all should.
Oh, I watched a crazy documentary the other day that I will have to tell you about another time.
Why not? Why not now? What happened?
Oh, okay, I'll tell you now. There's a new Netflix documentary called Into the Fire, The Lost Daughter.
Paige, I'm not joking. Natalie and I watched both episodes last night.
Yeah, I blew through them because I was like, and spoiler, if you're gonna watch it, skip ahead, I guess. When they reveal that the adopted father was basically a serial killer,
Is a serial killer. Yes.
well, he's only killed 2.
Sure. That we can prove. That dude's killed more.
That dude has definitely killed more people. And I was like, oh my God. First of all, what are the odds? Secondly, oh my God, give that woman a medal. Because she was just like, that's my fucking daughter, and I know she's in that fucking backyard, and I'm gonna fight until they dig up that whole fucking backyard. And where was she?
In the fucking backyard. Paige.
In the fucking backyard.
I lost my mind.
Oh my God.
Guys, watch it. Into the Fire. I don't know why it's called that, but that's the name of it.
It's because of the mom's quote at the end where she was like, I feel like going through this experience was like cleansing fire and has now given me a purpose in life.
Oh, yeah.
Because that lady's like, I feel like I got to go solve crimes now. I was like, yeah, bitch, I feel like you do too.
I would honestly take a show where it's just like, or like a documentary series where like.
It's just her and Carl solving crimes.
Exactly. He's got the nerd sense and she's got the intuition.
Yeah.
Can they find the body? Like, yes, they can't. Let's do this.
Let's do it.
Call me Netflix. Let's produce like 90 of these.
Yeah, speaking of serial killers, back to this movie.
Yeah.
So it's Wednesday the 11th, and we are at a fancy house with rich, bitchy teens.
Very rich.
Very rich, but they crack me up. This, as a cold open, is very fun because they're like, oh yeah, in 1977, and then they killed people, and then this guy killed a bunch of people in the 90s, and they're doing just veiled references to other slasher films.
Yeah.
It's a subtle meta, like it.
Yeah.
But one of the kids is an asshole and like knocks beer all over his girlfriend, so she goes to try and find soda water to clean up.
They're like telling like the story of the butcher, right? That's like sort of what we're hearing.
Yeah, the Blissfield butcher.
And he like, I thinks he's trying to scare her.
Yeah, I think so.
And like from his perspective, like she jumped and that's why she spilled the beer on herself. But he just straight up pushes her. Like he actually does push her.
Yeah, he just shoves her. Yeah.
So like she wasn't scared, asshole. You like pushed her so her beer spilled on her.
Right.
Anyway, I was like, I hope this guy gets a wine bottle shoved down his throat.
Well, you're going to get your wish because while she goes inside to find soda water at the bar, he's like snooping around. And this is where we see like the parts of this rich person's house that are like artifacts stolen from countries that should probably have them in their own country.
It was this walkthrough that made me realize they were like money laundering rich.
Yeah.
That's how rich they were.
Yeah. But one of the ceremonial masks is missing.
They also do reveal that knife too.
Yeah, they reveal a knife.
And I do like that the knife that causes the body switch, it was like an accident that it was there.
Yes.
Like it was not the butcher's intention to do this.
No.
He had no idea it was going to happen. I liked that aspect of it.
I do too. Yeah. I even like I don't love typifying an indigenous group as being people who did human sacrifice because a lot of historical context would say that might have not been true. And that was myths largely spread by the Spanish. But it is a cool sounding backstory in an Indiana Jones kind of way.
When he goes to stab her and it reveals the altar.
And they're on top of the pyramid.
I was like, that's
fucking
so
dope.
well done. It's
Fucking
so cool.
dope.
Yeah. I liked it a lot.
Yeah. But they reveal this knife and it's in a glass case. And this little idiot is like snooping around in shit he shouldn't be snooping around in. And he goes down to the wine cellar. He's like, ooh, wine, nice. And then he hears something and he drops it. And the wine shatters. He's like, oh, damn it. He's like trying to clean it up with his hands because apparently he's never cleaned anything in his life.
He literally puts glass shards just like on the shelf.
On a shelf.
Like, what are you doing? Like,
I was like, get a broom. What is happening right now?
I know. Why even pick it up until you have the right tools to like clean it with?
Yeah.
I gotta touch all this broken glass before we can pick it up, guys. I'm sorry.
Don't worry. But he keeps hearing someone and he thinks it's his girlfriend upstairs. And he's like yelling for her. He's like, you could at least help me clean it up. I was like, why? She didn't do it. This is you being an asshole.
I know. And also, you're an asshole. This is you having to deal with your own issues right now.
Right.
Yeah.
And she can't really hear him calling for help. She's just upstairs at the bar like, motherfucker with soda water. Just like, but then he hears something else and he turns and someone takes a wine bottle, shoves it down his throat and then hits the top of it to basically like smash it. So his throat is just shards. He's just wine bottled and immediately dead.
It's pretty graphic. This sort of sets the tone for how bloody the movie is, and this isn't the most bloody. Like, it gets bloodier after this.
Oh, this movie gets somebody gets chainsawed in the dick. Like, this is a very bloody movie.
I know, and fucking Connor Roy gets cut in half, literally, by a table saw.
Cut in half.
So, it does amp up the gore, but I would say, and maybe this isn't fair, but in most horror comedies, they usually sort of don't show as much of the gore as more scary focused horror movies.
I would say that is true, and the more successful horror comedies do show it. I think Shaun of the Dead's a perfect example, because Shaun of the Dead does not shy away from the gore at all, and I think it helps the movie. It really gives us that blend of it being a horror movie that is also a comedy, and I like the level of gore in this one.
Me too. I think it works.
He's a fucking slasher. Yeah, this is the level of gore I wanted in Final Girls.
This is where the more blood, more titties comes from.
More blood, more titties.
Not this movie, but that movie, Final Girls, right?
Yeah.
This movie doesn't have titties either that I could remember, but more blood for sure.
It doesn't have titties, but it is playing with sexually explicit themes in the way that those movies do. Right now, literally one scene from now, we're about to walk in on two people having sex, because the killer goes upstairs and goes to the bathroom where the girl is soda watering her sweatshirt, and he kicks the door open because he knocks a couple times and she's like, I'm not answering you or whatever. He kicks the door open.
What she actually says sort of took me out of it a little bit, because she has two lines of dialogue back to back, and it just feels like two very different characters would say those things. Because when he first bangs on the door, she says, 1 moment, please, while she's fixing her hair. And then he does it again, and she's like, aggro knocking won't make me go any faster. And I was like, that's two different voices. Anyway, it was just silly.
Well, and also, it's clearly not somebody who needs the bathroom. This place definitely has multiple bathrooms.
Right?
Yeah.
No, Paige, this is a 16-bed, 1 bath.
16-bed, 1 bath?
It's 9,000 square feet, all of it's living rooms and bedrooms.
Yeah, all of it. And then 2 seance rooms.
And one area just marked Groovin. What happens to that space?
Groovin, 1 conversation pit. I would love a conversation pit.
That is actually where the Groovin pit would be. That's true. That would be the Groovin area. You're right.
That's the Groovin with the spinifier in the middle. Take me back.
How does it spin?
He smashes her head in the toilet bowl, and it's brutal.
It's real shitty, guys. Yeah, it's real brutal.
But what's real hilarious to me is that they match cut to her other friend's head on the hood of a car mid-sex, because it's the same motion.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh God, what a brilliant comedic cut. This is so fun. But her friend reaches her destination.
Yeah, she got there.
And then gets up and is like, all right, great. And he's like, what? And she's like, you were taking too long. And he's like, oh, but just 3 more minutes. And she's like, no. And they just walk across. She's walking away, walks across their home tennis court.
That has 2 courts on
Yes.
it. It's one big fenced area, but it's got 2 courts. It's
like a country club.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it might have been shot at a country club. At least that part of this,
Probably, yeah. And the killer literally breaks a tennis racket in half.
I thought this was so cool.
And just sticks it on either side of the guy's head.
Making what I thought must have been the best easy costume from 2020.
Yep.
Because it literally would have been
Just a
one of
racket.
those headbands with a, tennis racket on it. But he does US Open his brain. He just stabs through his head.
Oh, yeah. I love this because I feel like each one of these deaths is goofy in the way that a Friday the 13th or a Freddy or any, it is goofy in the way that those deaths are.
Agree, yeah.
And I love that. I feel like it catches the spirit of it. Then this main girl runs, and it's her house. So she knows where everything is.
Yeah.
She runs through the house. He chases her. He picks up multiple of the weapons and antiquities to try and hurt her. He's got a spear that he ends up throwing, and it embeds in the wall. She runs and hides in Narnia, basically an armoire with a false back.
Yeah.
Here's the thing that drove me nuts is girl, why'd you come out at all?
Yeah.
That's a panic room. Stay back there.
I'm assuming she didn't have a phone on her But
Sure.
I mean, because if she did, I would have just stayed there, called the cops, and waited until a policeman showed up, you know?
Right. I mean, and maybe she's worried about her parents, but it seems like this killer don't kill adults.
I mean, the killer's gone before the parents get back, so I don't know if they would have died had the butcher been there.
Yeah, I don't know.
But we don't see him ever kill parents.
Yeah, we don't see him ever kill parents. But she peeks out and he immediately chases her down and just puts her up on one of the spears.
Yes.
A la, what was Halloween 2020 or 2021 that did that too?
I'm not 100% sure, but I do remember that shot.
Yeah. Anyway, he hears the knife calling him, and so he breaks it out of the case.
Yeah.
And he's gone by the time the parents come home, because when her parents come home, they see her up on the wall. They see the knife is gone. They scream, title card. And we're like 15 minutes in at this point.
Yeah, it's great.
Great.
Yeah.
Great pacing. Amazing. We open in Millie's bedroom. Her alarm goes off at 7, and we get a chyron that says Thursday the 12th. She gets up and her mom has made her banana pancakes. This scene is an amazing show don't tell scene, because we get, she's like, hey, older sister, sit down for breakfast. And the sister's like, oh, are we being a family now? And
yeah,
they're like, ever since, and they don't say what happened, but you immediately are like, oh, dad died.
Yeah.
100%.
I guess you don't know. You're right. But
We assume.
I wrote down dad's dead or left,
Right.
Something happened.
You immediately know. And I do love, and there is a fun callback to it where instead of going to homecoming, she's going to go see Wicked at the Anus Theater, or they're like, it's Anus.
Yeah.
And then we'll see a commercial for it later where it's literally spelled ANIS. So it is Anus, but just they're like at the Anus Theater.
I mean, that's what I would call it if that's the way it was spelled.
But the mom is like, aren't you supposed to agree with me that she shouldn't go to homecoming so that she doesn't engage in underage drinking or anything like that? And the sister's like, yeah, sure, I gotta go. And stands up to go dump the pancakes into the trash can, and in the trash can sees a full empty bottle of Chardonnay. She dumps the pancakes, she slams the plate down, she leaves. Which, that one little scene told us everything we need to know. Dad's gone, mom's drinking, she is emotionally relying on her younger daughter to maintain her stability, and the older daughter does not agree with it. In a matter of lines.
Yeah, and Charlene, the older daughter, is throwing herself into her work. That is her coping mechanism for it.
Exactly.
We sort of get either that exactly or microcosms of that in this scene. It's great.
Yes.
Yeah.
But we cut to Millie goes to school, and we meet her two friends, Nyla and Josh. And just for ease, as we go through the movie, Josh, the character, is presented as, at least he within the movie. The actor playing Josh uses she, they pronouns. So when we talk about the actor, we will use their pronouns, and the character, we will use Josh's pronouns.
Yeah.
That's how we're going to go about it. Anyway, so there is a police description later in the movie for Josh's character that I found so hilarious. I will mention it when we get there.
Please do, because I missed it. I don't remember that.
Oh, it's not even in the subtitles. I did not notice it the first time. It is a background noise. It cracks me up whenever somebody puts a joke in as a background noise where it's like, man, if you're watching this with headphones, enjoy that.
Yeah.
Just if you happen to catch it. But we will get to it in just a second.
Nice.
But they all go to school, and they are kind of having this conversation of both Nyla and Josh are trying to get Millie to go to homecoming, and their reasons for going to homecoming are different, where Nyla has to shoot it for the school paper and Josh is trying to take advantage of straight boys who may have their guard down. That's not great. And I do love the callback to this later, where even in the moment they're like, this is not the time. This is not great. Anyway, they are also trying to encourage Millie, to go to homecoming so that she is not propping up her mom, essentially, but B, to try and get with Booker, who clearly Millie has had a crush on for a long time and has not made a move, or at least they don't know she has.
Yeah.
We will find out later in the movie that she maybe has made a move and just hasn't confirmed that she has.
Right.
Anyway, as she's going to class, a dude jumps out and scares her. And then she just gets surrounded by an evil girl circle that are just like, love your dress, is it from Discount Bonanza? And I'm just like, what? You guys are assholes. I'm not going to be sad about your deaths later.
Well, there's only one of them, I think, that dies, but that's, Riley or something, I think is her name.
Rylan is her name.
Either way, she's a nightmare, and I hate her.
Yeah. Oh, and I don't know if this is, and again, maybe I didn't experience this, and so it was happening at my school, and I just did not see it. And if it was, I'm sorry. I feel like, at least when I was in high school, pointing out that people were poor was not a bullying tactic that often got used. I'm sure you probably have a different experience.
Yeah, I didn't go to private school, so hell yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Like, that happened all the time. But that's like, I don't know. People would also call people fat and like gay and like all of that shit. Whatever you can use to differentiate someone from yourself, you can use to like shame them or whatever. So like, that's not a unique experience to just being poor, you know? Like,
yeah. I mean, here's what I will say. My private school had a lot of poor people at it. There were a lot of scholarships going on. That was kind of the norm, but nobody knew who had them. Like, you didn't necessarily know who was scholarshiped and who wasn't. We were just all kind of there. And because we had a dress code, everyone kind of had to wear like the same stuff. But yeah, no, I got called fat a lot. And I know people got called gay a lot.
Exactly.
So like, yeah.
But that's what I mean. Like,
it's shitty.
Yeah. It is. I even wrote that down and I was like, man, it's shitty that they're making fun of this kid because she's poor. Like, she can't really do anything about that. And then I was like, well, that's like the exact same thing people do for like being larger or being gay or being whatever. Like, it's just anything you can do to like wedge something between them and other people. Yeah. That's what kids do in high school, man. It's terrible.
Here's what it sounds like. As a grown-up, I feel like for some reason this gets me even worse, where I'm like, if I ever have children, I'm going to drill this into them. Making fun of a kid for being poor is so cruel because they literally have zero control.
I know.
Like, not a single iota of control over hiding that, doing anything about it. Like, it's so brutal. That's ridiculous. Anyway, they make fun of her for being poor because they're awful. And we're not going to be sad when Rylan dies.
We're not.
But she kind of catches Booker in the hallway, but then runs to class. She's late to class because passing periods aren't long enough and people need to pee. And she gets to wood shop.
It's true.
And this is where Connor Roy just like rips her a new one because he's like, oh, so you're late? Fuck you for that. Instead of being like, hey, what's going on in the class before this? Like, why do you seem to have trouble getting in my class?
Well, and also this is where Booker is her crush, by the way.
Yes.
Is also able to give her I always set my watch 5 minutes ahead so I never miss, which is like, okay, good trick. But like, we all only have 6 minutes and I have further to come than you. But like, whatever,
yeah.
You know, like that's not going to help in this situation. But I appreciate you dropping this in so later the reveal makes sense. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that's 6 minutes if you're lucky. I had 4-minute passing periods. That was fucking brutal.
Fuck, that's insane. I thought 6 minutes was woefully insignificant.
I read somebody was complaining about something on Twitter the other day about their kid's school and they had 2-minute passing periods. And I was like, What? Like, you can't get you are literally class to class. No one could pee in that time. Like, what are we doing?
I refuse.
Well, and it was a question about bathrooms of like, you know, a teacher was like, you only get so many bathroom passes per year. And here's the thing. Hey, daughter of a teacher, I know a ton of teachers. I understand that kids constantly leaving your class can be disruptive. I get that. But I also feel like you gotta let people need to go to the bathroom. And if they have 2-minute passing periods, that shit ain't happening.
Yeah, that's insane.
So like, you gotta figure something out.
Yeah.
That's not that.
These kids gotta piss.
Kids gotta piss, man. Kids gotta piss. Kids gotta smoke.
Yes.
That's one of the most unrealistic parts of all high school movies to me is people hanging out in bathrooms. And I'm like, who has the time? Anyway, but he's confronting her about her doghouse that she's like, you said I had until the 16th. And he's just like, why isn't it ready? And she's like, because it's not the 16th. Like, I don't know if you know how calendars work, but it is the 11th.
I know.
We know that.
It's insane to me that like he was mad at her.
Or I guess it's the 12th. So it's 4 days.
Yeah, it's a whole ass weekend, Paige. You know what I was planning on making a fucking doghouse? I don't know, maybe Saturday or Sunday, you asshole.
Yeah.
And I have till Monday.
Yeah.
So eat a big bag of dicks, Teach. Like, what the fuck are we even doing here?
Yeah. And I do, when we kill him later, he tries to like. Literally. He tries to play this as like, I'm being hard on her so she'll make something of herself. And I'm like.
Yeah, a lot of abusers do that.
Yeah, that's not the way to air quotes be hard on someone to like, you know, she lost a parent. I would assume most people know because that's a thing that people like that makes the rounds at the school.
Yeah,
you know,
I'm sure it is.
So I would assume you know that she lost a parent and like that's not the time to be hard on somebody that's the time to be like, hey, what's going on at home? Like, clearly some shit, I would imagine.
Or honestly, just treating her like every other student and letting her have until her due dates to get her doghouse done.
Yes, you said the 16th. She has till the 16th. If she doesn't have it on the 16th, then maybe other questions happen. But but he gets interrupted because everyone's phones go off, which I do love that this is a movie that uses phones and doesn't shy away from them. Everyone's phones go off.
It's like an Amber Alert for the murderer.
Oh, yes. And as someone who received wild Amber Alerts this week, because we had an earthquake this week, like a significant sized one, I guess.
Yeah.
But it happened early in the morning, so we all slept through it. And so there's a million memes of people hearing the Amber Alert and then just hitting it on where it's their phone's on a dresser shaking and they're just try to turn off the Amber Alert.
That's hilarious.
Or the emergency alert or whatever.
Yeah.
But anyway, Amber Alert, they all react appropriately. And it's basically hey, 4 students have been killed, suspect at large. I don't know why they didn't send everyone home from school.
Oh, you mean they absolutely would have, Paige? Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. There's a killer on the loose who seems to be targeting children. Quick, let's leave them where they're all together.
Where they're all together?
Yeah, that seems like a bad idea.
In the school where the homecoming is happening.
Oh, and they're not going to cancel that homecoming right away, guys.
No.
They're going to give it a beat. They're going to see how this serial killer thing plays out over the course of the day, and then we'll reassess. I'm sorry. Serial killer on the loose is not when you we're going to see what happens. This is not Rain. This is a serial killer, guys.
I think that was a reference to prom night where they didn't cancel.
Oh, the shit. That probably is true.
Yeah, that was my thinking, is that because earlier when they talk about it, they're a bunch of kids got killed at prom. They're no, it was homecoming.
Yeah. Okay.
I think that's why they don't cancel it until later. But we also find out that the girl that got speared, the girl from the armoire, the rumor about her at school that they're that's not true, there's no way that was true, was that she got a carrot stuck in her pussy. And I was oh man, it was Mean Girl vibes, and it made me laugh really hard. I doubt that happens.
You doubt it, Paige? You doubt it.
I doubt it.
I mean, there's a chance.
There's a chance.
I guess is what Paige is saying.
Hey, people get into weird stuff. But the reason I doubt it is because I feel like that girl had her pick of the litter for boys who would have been open to sharing carrots with her, if you know what I mean.
I don't know. Maybe she's a vegetarian, Paige. Or a vegetarian. Hang on. Sorry. What would it be called?
That's later in the movie, they call someone a vegetarian, which is not kind, but great portmanteau.
Yeah.
Anyway, they're not canceling Homecoming. And we do get a couple scenes of them hanging out and talking on the set of the school play, which I think must have been The Crucible, but we never officially find out.
They don't say. I did wonder what it was too, but I have no idea.
Given that it looks old-timey and there's a gallows.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be Cannibal the Musical. I doubt it. Could be. I think it was probably The Crucible.
Fair enough.
Anyway, we cut to the game that night where she's dancing as the mascot, which we'll find out she is the mascot just to put it on her college applications that she did extracurriculars.
And we did see this in the first scene with her full family. She is accepted, or I think it looks like she will be going to a school in Boston or whatever. It's implied that she's doing a lot of things because she really wants to get away from home and sort of experience a different part of the world and grow as a person.
Sure.
And that's her mom's arc is getting over the fact that she should do that.
Right.
And her daughter needs to do that. I actually like her mother's arc in this. It's sort of sweet.
I do too. Yeah. No, I will say that arc is the one that's told the most and shown the least.
Yeah.
But I do still like the arc.
Yeah, a lot of it's done without words, I think. But I like it.
Well, and this scene with the beaver, because she takes the head off and whatever, it's a really great shot for Booker because you see the other football players being kind of mean and commenting about not liking her, and Booker being shut up.
Yeah.
So we know early on he does like her. And, even though other people are mean to her, he doesn't care. He likes her.
And if you're thinking to yourself, of course he likes her. She's hot. He still's really into it when it's Vince Vaughn. So I really do think he likes her for her.
I love that, honestly. Like, that is a very, very, funny and sweet moment in this movie that I really do enjoy.
You mind if I come back there? I was like, oh, hell yeah. What's about to happen?
Yeah, go for it.
It did make me uncomfortable because the man who's like 45 was making out with someone who is like a high schooler, at least on the screen. They're in high school.
And they're seniors, so maybe she's 18, but, The
reason I'm okay with it is because it is Millie, right? It's Millie inside Vince Vaughn's body.
Right.
But what we're actually watching is a man who's like 45 making out with someone who's like maybe 18.
It's like that scene in Face Off where John Travolta has sex with Nicolas Cage. No, wait.
I don't think John Travolta and Nicolas Cage ever have sex in that movie.
No. Nicolas Cage as John Travolta has sex with John Travolta's wife, even though, according to the rules of the movie, they've only changed faces, which would mean that the dick was probably different. But the movie doesn't pay attention to all of that. They're fully in each other's different bodies.
Paige, I think that this proves my theory that I've been screaming about since I figured out who Castor Troy was.
Right.
And that's that Castor Troy and whatever the cop's name was, whatever.
I don't remember.
I don't remember the other character's name.
It's not as cool as Castor Troy or Pollux Troy.
It's not.
So you're not going to remember
You're right.
it. Yeah.
But the two main characters in Face Off are identical twins, and I'm here to say it and announce it to the world. Thank you for coming to my Todd Talk.
And their rocks are soft until you touch them.
Well, their rocks are for sure because,
More people need to talk about identical twins.
I definitely am on a hunt to find someone who will start using that word. Not my twin. But if you think you have you know what? I could tell where that joke was going, and I don't like the punchline because it ends up with me getting a shitload of dick pics I don't want. So I'm out.
Don't do them. I'll say that I feel like Nicola Coughlan might be close to my boob twin, and that's pretty fun. When we saw those on Bridgerton, I was like, I've seen stuff like that before. So yeah.
I haven't seen that season of Bridgerton, which in this moment makes me feel a little bit more comfortable than I think I would had I seen that season of Bridgerton.
Sure.
But also going to put a pin in that to go see that scene of Bridgerton.
There you go. You can't miss it. Anyway, there's a psycho roaming around, a killer.
It could be both. They're often both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so the game ends and her friends are like, hey, do you want us to give you a ride since there's a murderer? And she's like, no, my mom's going to be here any minute, which is incredibly sad because she's like, my mom would never forget to pick me up, except clearly it has happened multiple times and she is kind of in denial.
Her mom is sort of a drunk, we find. That's her coping mechanism for losing her husband is she's become a little bit dependent on alcohol. She's self-medicating.
Yeah.
And we do see Charlene, the older sister, gets home and sees the mom passed out drunk on the couch.
Right.
So she calls Millie.
Yeah. And Millie is like, yeah, I'm still here. And so Charlene is going to come pick her up because she has, rightfully assumed, even though the call cuts off because her battery on her phone dies. The call cuts off, but she's like, I bet she needs a ride. So Charlene heads out. So we know we have a ticking clock for when Charlene is going to get there. But who should show up in the parking lot but the murderer? And so he chases her all over, under the bleachers through the gates.
Yeah, which is wild because when she's under the bleachers and she looks out, I would never have looked out. I would have just stayed under those bleachers until the cops or my sister got there or whatever.
Same.
Yeah.
Same.
Unless I see that person walk off in my line of sight and I see them walk off forever, I am not going to believe ever they're gone.
Our bleachers were kind of like this though, because you could fully walk under some of those bleachers and people standing above you might not be able to see you. It was kind of a place to be quiet and hide or whatever.
That's why people joke around about fooling around under the bleachers.
100.
Because it is a place you can hide or smash.
Yeah, or smash. She peeks out. He chases her literally into the center of the field, and who should show up just in time but Charlene? But he goes to stab her, and as he raises the knife, it glows red. The background fades away, and she is on top of a pyramid. It's fucking dope as fuck.
It's actually the eye of the dagger because it's a little it's like a little idol head. I don't know how to describe it other than that.
Yeah.
But the eye of that idol head that's on the hilt of the dagger glows, and it's so cool.
It's very cool. And as he stabs her, the background fades back in, and she's in the field. But she notices that he got hurt too from the stabbing. And so as the sister fires, he runs away. She gets to her in time and she's like, it hurt him too. It hurt him too. And they're like, she's in shock. We cut to the police station where her mom shows up. And in the background, we get her mom and her sister arguing because I'm sure her sister is like, you were too busy drinking to pick her up. And this is how this happened, which, like, again, no one could predict that.
Right.
It's not good that she was drunk and missed picking her up, but also there is a murderer.
Right? Yeah. Like
That's a lot of stuff. But they take her home. She goes to sleep, but then she wakes up Freaky Friday the 13th because that is the log line for this movie. So she gets up and I like that we don't immediately know what happened because we see her get up first. She spits out the Invisalign.
Yeah.
She's looking in the mirror. She's not really sure. She's not talking to anybody, but she is like, why do I sound like this? This is not great. She like grabs her boobs in the mirror.
Yeah, this is that scene.
Yeah. We cut to a terrifying murderer's lair with a bunch of dead animals and like mannequin parts. I feel like they just told props. They were like, what do you think murderers like?
Yeah.
And they were like, we got you. We got you, fam. Like, let's go. On like a dirty mattress. And immediately she's like, why do I sound like that? Oh no. And then into the mirror and you realize they have switched bodies.
Yes.
And now she is in Vince Vaughn's body. He is in her body and bad things are about to happen. And the first person she encounters is someone looking for drugs. And he's like, no, I'm a girl. Do I look like a girl inside? Because I'm a girl. And he's like,
oh, I want those drugs.
bro, you're high right now. I want those drugs.
Those drugs are awesome. Can I have some of those drugs?
I want to feel like a girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like when Vince Vaughn looks into the mirror and screams as he's doing the high-pitched scream. It freezes and it says Friday the 13th.
Yes.
Like the way they cut that or froze that at that moment made it so funny to me. But I also really loved the delivery of this guy who was asking for drugs because as Vince Vaughn, like as Millie, is like running away.
Freaking out. Yeah.
The guy who was asking for drugs was like, I'll suck your dick.
All of it.
It's so funny. Oh God, it was so funny.
All of it.
The pause, the ellipses in the script was really abided by, and I appreciated that.
I appreciate
that comedic timing was perfect.
As someone who adds ellipses or parentheticals specifically to make people deliver things in certain ways, I appreciate that.
You got it.
But we cut back to her house where she has pulled the knife off of the cutting board and is going to try and kill her sister. And her mom just walks in and is just like, hey, I've got that. Don't worry about it. You don't have to do dishes. Like, they subvert her trying to kill people so many times in this scene.
I know.
Just by interrupting her.
But honestly, like if I was standing in the kitchen and my sibling walked up behind me with a knife, I would not let them do that. Like, I don't care how much they look like my sibling. I'm not going to let you get that close to me with a knife.
Well, she doesn't see it. The mom is the one that intercepts her. And it's just like, but she's right behind her.
The older sister, Charlene, walks in when she's got the knife in her hand very aggressively.
Oh, that's right. Where she's holding it.
I would be like, I'll come back. I would not stay in that room. I'd be like, Starbucks is on the way to work. I don't need free coffee this bad.
Yeah.
Mom, you might want to leave.
Yeah. Anyway, the mom is like, hey, you're not still thinking of going to school, are you? And she's like, school, friends. And you're like, oh no.
Brains. Yeah.
Brains, teens.
I also want to point out that the second we get her walking into school, I paused it. And I said, holy fuck, 35 minutes and 35 seconds into this movie, it finally gets good. And that's because she's wearing the same leather jacket I have. And it's awesome. I love that leather jacket. Or I used to have. I actually don't have it anymore because I wore it out. I wore it all the time.
Oh, well, I'm sorry you no longer have that. I know you loved that jacket.
I'll have to replace it because I love like that old 50s style motorcycle red leather jacket. Oh, so nice.
Yeah, it's like a red. Well, we'll see her get it in just a second because first we get Vince Vaughn's character, the murderer, the Blissfield butcher, running through town being like, "Hi, can anyone help me?" And you're like, no. And he stops and talks to this man that they talked to the day before on the way to school. And no, they're like, it's you, it's him. Because of course, the night before, Millie did a drawing with a sketch artist. And so he's like, oh no, like it literally looks exactly like him. So he's like taking off through town, hiding in bushes. Cut back to her house. She looks through all her clothes. No, Not gonna work. Goes to her sister's closet, finds the red leather jacket, is like, hell yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Goes to school, walks past her friends, and she stands out because everyone's there for homecoming, so they're in school colors, and she's not. They've set her apart.
Can I just say this? The shot where she's walking through in slow motion like a pep rally.
Yep.
I thought that was it was such a cool like vibe because everything was in slow motion, including her, but like she is in that bright red leather jacket. Everyone's in like a pastelish blue kind of color. Like their school colors are very different.
Yeah.
So she really stands out. There's even like a pretty cool overhead shot of it while she's walking through. I loved it. Although I wish the camera was like 8 feet higher so the pom-poms on both sides were in frame because it would have made it completely symmetrical.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
But
I'll take it for what it is. It's still pretty cool.
Oh, I'm talking about it because I thought the shot was cool as it was. Like, I'm not upset. It was cool.
Very cool. And she walks past her friends, and they're like, is she cute today? What is happening? And so they try to like catch up with her, and they're like, hey, why are you at school today? You were stabbed yesterday.
Yeah.
That's a valid question, I think.
Oh, yeah. Paige, if I get stabbed, I'm not coming to work tomorrow.
No.
Like, I'm taking the day off. I got stabbed.
Yeah. She smiles for Instagram. Not really. The Rylan comes up and is like, for Insta, and she doesn't even look at the phone.
No, but Riley or whatever, Rylan or whatever her name is so terrible because she was a bitch to Millie yesterday.
Yeah.
And now because Millie's like the hot new item in school because she got stabbed because of this tragedy that happened to her.
Right.
Riley or Rylan or whatever, it doesn't matter. She's about to die. Like she is just trading in on that for like clout. It's real shitty.
Yeah.
I was sort of fine when she died.
I was okay with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she's like, hey, come with me somewhere private. Because Millie / the murderer is just going to kill her. Like, she doesn't care. She's just looking for weapons. But they end up in the locker room, and this is where Rylan's like, I've seen SVU. I know the signs. Did anything like happen to you? Like, what happened?
I did love it. I watched SVU. I know the signs. Hang on one second.
Meanwhile, Vince Vaughn has hid in the bushes and chased his way to school.
Yeah.
So he is now in the like locker room, and we cut back to Rylan being like, so wait, did you ask me to come here to make out? I knew you were gay. Like, and she's immediately not cool about it. This is where we get the total vegetarian text.
Yeah.
But she's like, whatever. I've had like 10 kombuchas today, so I'm going to go pee and then I'll come back. And I was like, that's too many. That's too many for one morning.
I feel like if you're drinking that many kombuchas, you're just trying to get drunk.
I was like, you're either trying to get drunk or you can't shit for shit, I guess, baby.
Either way, you're probably about to achieve both if you've drank 10 kombuchas.
Yeah, that's a lot. Anyway, she comes out and hears that somebody's in the shower, so she looks, but it's actually Vince Vaughn, who's like, no, oh my God. So she runs into Millie, and really Millie's like, you need to hide, the killer's in there, and locks her in a cryo chamber. I've never used one of these. It seems like they shouldn't need to go that low temperature-wise.
I mean, unless you're trying to freeze someone to death, like, why? I mean, like 300 below is like, that's like what Ripley was in when she was in stasis. Like, what are we doing? Like, does that even exist?
I don't know. But what they're doing is trying to pay homage to a Friday the 13th movie we have not seen yet.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Which is Jason X.
We'll get there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely a Jason X kill.
Yeah.
Anyway, she locks her in there. She freezes her. And Millie in Vince Vaughn's body runs out and is like, oh no, and like tries to get her out. And she is dead. She shatters on the floor. We then get an announcement from the school that they are going to postpone the dance because there's a curfew at 8. And then she shows up in wood shop.
What that means is they didn't cancel the dance.
Right.
The city imposed a curfew that happens to have canceled the dance. The school does not care about those kids is all I'm trying to get at. Like, that's the narrative right here.
No, but they're in wood shop and Booker accidentally cuts his finger and then she sucks his finger, like the blood on it. And people are like, ew, like, whoa.
One dude is very vocally like, hot.
Look, hey, I can't throw stones from my glass house that watches hella True Blood. But the teacher reacts as like, you're just constantly seeking attention.
I mean, because the teacher's the worst. This is Ferris Bueller's friend in this movie is terrible. And I was glad when it gets cut in half.
Terrible. But this is where Vince Vaughn, with Millie inside, finds Nyla and Josh and is like, it's me, don't freak out, please. And Josh says, you're black, I'm gay, we're dead. Like, this is a problem in a slasher movie.
That shit was so funny to me.
Oh, God.
But they literally run into like the cafeteria kitchen and they're like fighting with like plates and pans and everything.
Once they get those spoons and they're just like, plap, plap, like slapping at him was pretty great.
This fight scene does go on for like 30, 45 seconds of like runtime.
Yeah.
Like it's a bit. And when Vince Vaughn finally kicks her and she like falls to the ground, Nyla,
Yeah.
and Nyla pops up, he's like, all right, we're all tired. Like, can we just take a beat and talk for a second? Like, can we like, I thought that shit was funny. And then like they do the, what's your favorite snack?
She does the beaver dance.
Yeah. And then they do other tests because like anybody could have learned the beaver dance, which they do. Like,
Right.
I do think in this moment they do a good job of convincing me, the viewer, that they have enough proof to believe
Right.
this crazy fucking premise actually happened.
And she knows the handshake.
Oh yeah, that like sealed it for me right there because the handshake isn't just like a regular thing. It's a really awesome 3-person handshake.
Yeah, and they use this great moment because literally it's like, okay, here's what happened. So he stabbed me and he got hurt. And I think it's this like fancy dagger and it kept whispering its name to me all night, Ladola. So I think that has something to do with it. And they immediately are like, beep, boop, beep, like Google, is it this dagger? Yes. And they're like, okay, we've got to translate what's on it. But the whole time she's peeing standing up for the first time. And I do love the Foley in this scene.
I know, Paige. It's so good.
Because like she's peeing and then turns to talk to them. And because she's not used to peeing standing up, as she turns, you hear it hit the wall because she is
Or at least just the floor. Like it goes from like clearly hitting the water in the toilet to like hitting the side of the toilet and then the floor and the wall or whatever. Yeah, it's great. And then when he's done peeing, but he's still in there and they're talking and he's flapping it against his hips.
He's flapping it around.
It's like smacking. You hear the thud of what I'm assuming is a huge dick on either side of his body. And you don't see it, obviously, but you see him like shimmying. It's so funny.
It's so funny.
Did you happen to see what was on the bathroom wall behind it?
There's so much on that bathroom wall.
I mean, a lot of it was like, here I sit brokenhearted, came to shit, only farted. It's like that kind of stuff.
Right.
But one of them I thought was so funny because I saw like similar things in my high school. And I think it was like green marker, it said smoke weed. And then in black marker right below that, it said, sure, but don't be such an idiot about it. And I don't know why that made me laugh so much. It was very funny to me.
There's also almost like a stick drawing of Goatsy.
Yes.
Like up in the corner.
Yeah.
And then there's one where it's like Millie is a cock guzzler or no, it's a cocksucker.
Cock gobbler or whatever.
It says cocksucker, but then she says cock gobbler.
I wonder if the art department just got it wrong and they were like, fuck it, we only have today. It's fine. It doesn't matter. Yeah.
I don't know. But she was like, no, I'm not.
Yeah.
She's real upset about it. It's pretty funny.
This podcast is brought to you by eHarmony, the dating app to find someone you can be yourself with. Why doesn't eHarmony allow copy and paste in first messages? Because you are unique, and your conversations should reflect that. eHarmony wants you to find someone who will get you. How are you going to know who gets you if people send you the same generic conversation starters they message everyone else? Conversations that actually help you get to know each other. Imagine that. Get who gets you on eHarmony. Sign up today.
Okay, want to know where to find brands on brands this fall? At Ross. They've got big savings on the latest fall styles. Seriously, you'll find the brands you want at prices you'll love. At Ross. Yes, for less.
But they leave her in the bathroom.
Yeah.
While they go to the Spanish teachers for Spanish 3 and have her translate.
Because Josh can't. And Nyla's like, you're in Spanish 3.
Yeah.
And as someone who took 2 years of Spanish and could speak almost none of it, rude, Nyla. Rude.
I took 4 years of French and I understand a lot of it. I cannot respond to you very well at all. And I think that's because of how we teach languages in America versus other places. Whatever. We don't have time for this TED Talk today.
I just use Duolingo and feel like I know how to speak it.
There you go.
It's not reality, Paige, but it feels nice. It's like a whole workout for the mouth.
Anyway, I do love that Senora like translates and like says it as if like, Josh, you should understand. And Josh is like, no comprendo. And she's just like, God, you're in my class. Swapped and permanent. So like if they stabbed each other, they swapped. But if they don't stab back, they're permanent. So she's got to get the knife and stab him again.
In most games, you're not allowed to stab back.
I mean,
isn't that like a common tag rule?
Oh, like no tag backs?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially for freeze tag because you're frozen. So like.
Exactly.
Anyway, this is where we cut to, we see all the graffiti on, and it's the cocksucker or whatever.
Yeah.
And the guy who bullied her earlier in the week comes in and is like, I got to take a dump. And she has this like realization of, I am in this big, giant Vince Vaughn body.
Yeah.
And I can finally use it. Like, this will scare people.
Well, and I'm much stronger. I have more power than I once did, which we sort of saw with the fight with her friends Josh and Nyla, because she like pushes Nyla, and I fully do believe she pushes her with the amount of force she would have in her body, and it would have just pushed her away a little bit.
Yes.
But in his body, it was like she got shoved fucking across the room, you know?
Yes.
So like at this moment, she's like, okay, I know I have the power. Now I'm going to use it to my advantage. And listen, if a guy comes in and there are 3 stalls, only the middle of which is in use, and demands that one to shit in, bro, I'm going to lift you up until you pee on yourself. Like, that's a ridiculous ask. Use one of the other open toilets. There are 2 to choose from.
Yeah, and bruh, you've only got somewhere between 2 to 6 minutes. That might not be enough time to shit, depending on what time of the day it is.
Paige, if I have my phone, I need at least 15 minutes.
Right.
Yeah. I've got a Reddit article to read for no reason, and it's not going to help me at all.
Right. I've got to fall down a rabbit hole about people drinking horse electrolytes on Twitter.
Nay, Paige.
Todd, have you heard about this?
No. Why would I have heard about that?
Okay. Because it's huge on Twitter right now and has made its way to Instagram. It's bleeding into the other sites.
I was going to say, what were you doing on Twitter?
I still check it from time to time just to kind of keep tabs on a few people. But like my like feed on Twitter is terrible. Like it's awful. The whole site has gone down the toilet.
Yeah.
But somebody posted that they were like, yo, I just found this at Tractor Supply, and it's like a giant like Home Depot bucket of horse electrolytes. And they're like, it's apple flavored. I'm never buying Gatorade for hangovers again. I'm vibrating. And I was like, oh no. And like multiple people, it ranged from doctors being like, please don't do that. There's stuff in there that we don't regulate for humans. The FDA for humans and horses is very different. Please don't eat the horse electrolytes. And then other people being like, hell yeah, horse maxing to the max. Now it has a name. It's horse maxing. And then there are farmers in there that are like, yeah, I mean, in a pinch, I've drank some of the stuff if I was like thirsty, but like, don't do it all the time. And the guy's like, yeah, you got to like reduce the dosage because horses are like 100 pounds. I was like, no.
100 pounds?
Thank you.
Sorry, what?
Thank you.
No, a pony's not even 100 pounds, you fucking moron.
A 12-year-old is 100 pounds. Like, what are we doing?
There are dogs that are bigger than 100 pounds.
Yes.
That's some real, I think drinking horse Gatorade's a good idea energy.
Yes.
And also, still on Twitter energy, honestly.
Yes. But again, now it has made it other places and I can't stop reading about it. It has entered the pun meme era where people are like, 4 out of 5 doctors say nay.
Exactly.
Nay.
And the other one's just a horse with a lab coat and
With a lab
stethoscope around its huge neck.
Dr. Klopper says it's fine. Yeah. Yes. I can't stop reading about it. Anyway, that's all I'm saying is that's going to take a few more minutes on the toilet as I investigate the horse electrolyte phenomenon. Anyway, if you go to Tractor Supply, apparently it's real cheap for a big old bucket. But now that they know what they have to do, they have to stab him by midnight, which is only 9 hours away. But the knife is at the police station. And at this point, Millie in Vince Vaughn's body is like, well, he's wearing my body and my face. He's going to kill people at school. Like, we got to figure something out.
The one thing they could have leaned into a little bit more is the ramifications of people seeing or video evidence of her, him in her body, though, killing people. Because then I would have to fly to, I don't know, probably Springfield, Ohio to defend her. I don't know where this movie takes place.
Right.
But I'm assuming it's some place where Haitians can really go down on women. That's all I'm saying. So it's Springfield, Ohio.
Oh, no.
Can you guess what I watched a few days ago?
Well, I've been following this story very closely because I did not watch the debate because I'm not an undecided voter.
I truly didn't watch the debate either, but I caught the clips afterwards.
So here's what's extra wild because I have been following that story because it is racist to a degree that is insane, but they've actually tracked down the original photo of the guy carrying geese.
I saw that.
And they were geese that got hit by a car.
Yeah.
That he was just like moving them out of the road. And I was like, oh, like a helper, like someone doing something nice, like, and not even Haitian.
Paige, that might have also been his job.
Right?
Like, I don't know if they do there, but in Nashville, we have like a road assistance crew.
Sure, yeah. I'm sure most cities do.
I assume so, but like our road assistance crew like also does, roadkill cleanup. And like that may have been his job. I don't know. But yeah, I saw that too, Paige.
Regardless, nobody's eating fucking cats and dogs. Like, that is a racist stereotype that has been applied to literally every immigrant group over time in America. It's a hit. They keep going back to it.
It's so funny that anybody could believe it.
And it's unreal to me that like that happened during the debate and they're like, we think he won. I was like, in what world? He said that people were eating cats and dogs.
Still going to get 70 million votes, Paige. At
Hate
least.
it. Hate it.
Same.
Rage, flames on the sides of my face.
Appropriate. I agree.
Yes.
I actually was in Philadelphia the night before the debate, and me and my coworker were in two different but close hotels. And I walked to his hotel so we could go to have dinner close to where his hotel was. And he and his girlfriend met me outside, and we started walking further down the street. And then we were like, why is there like a big fucking pavilion just pop up, like tent pavilion? And then we walked past that and walked further in, and I was like, oh shit, that person has a Secret Service vest on. We walked right by the hotel Kamala Harris was staying in. And here's an anecdote that made me feel a little bit better about where we are as a country.
Sure.
There were about 75 people waiting outside her hotel when we walked by in Philly. And I asked somebody, I was like, why are you guys waiting here? And they were like, oh, this is where Kamala Harris is staying for the debate tomorrow.
Right.
And I asked, I was like, oh, is she like about to get here? And he was like, no, she got here 30 minutes ago. And I was like, what are you still doing here? And he was like, there were about 250, 300 people here 30 minutes ago.
Damn.
There was about 75 left. And he was just like, I'm just talking, just hanging out. I was like, okay, I'm going to dinner. Like, this is a weird thing to do. Like, she's not coming out, guys. She's got a debate tomorrow night. She's prepping. But like, it was cool that many people came to just see her go into her hotel.
This is the thing that's driving me fucking insane, Todd, is that they're like, I think she knew the questions ahead of time. I think she cheated and prepped. I was like, you're supposed to. It's a debate. Like, what? You're not supposed to raw dog this shit. It's not a show at UCB. It's a fucking presidential debate.
I do think improvers make great debaters because they think quickly on their feet. But
sure,
if you think you can do that level of debate without prep, you're an idiot, because you know generally what questions they're going to ask, Paige.
Yes.
I mean, maybe not specifically worded, but like, okay, we need a question. We need to come up with like what we're going to say about economy.
Positions on abortion.
What we're going to say about abortion. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So you have all your tentpole issues. What do you say for those? Okay, we're good.
Yeah.
And because you're a former prosecutor and you're up against a felon,
yes,
you'll be fine.
Oh my God. That, and they were mad about her earrings. I was like, she's a lawyer. You think she couldn't buy herself some nice earrings? You don't even know how long she's had those. Sorry, I've been screaming a lot this week. It's not been good for my voice.
Paige, do you know how much the vice president makes a year?
Oh, yes.
She could afford those earrings.
Yeah.
It's insane.
But, and here's the thing. I'm saying, even if she wasn't vice president, she could afford those earrings. She's a fancy corporate lady, and she probably wants to have nice earrings for a debate that's one of the biggest days of her fucking life that she obviously prepared for.
Yeah. Anyway, I was blown away by the number of people that were still there after she went in. Like, I was like, okay,
yeah,
she's clearly got some excitement. Also, whoever's doing her like literal street team is killing it. When we walked back from dinner, this is probably like an hour and a half after that.
Sure.
I can't tell you how many spray painted like things I saw that was Madam Vice President, and Madam had a line through it. And people had like a stencil and were just spray painting it everywhere. It was on the ground, while we were walking by. It was awesome. I don't think it was actual spray paint.
You mean the line was through Vice?
Yes.
So that it was just Madam President?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it just said Madam President.
I thought the line was through Madam. I was like, what? But okay.
Shit. Did I say Madam? Sorry. The line was through Vice. My bad.
Vice. Okay. So Madam President.
And it was like awesome. I think the spray paint was like quick release spray paint because I stepped on one without noticing it and like it kind of like moved. It didn't even really come off. It was like, I don't know. It seemed like if you sprayed it with a hose, it would go away. It was like that kind of thing.
Oh, wild. Interesting.
Anyway, I thought it was like whoever's doing that kind of work for them is crushing it. Anyway.
Nice.
Yeah.
Anyway, she comes in to the wood shop. She puts on a coat and goggles, and the teacher's just like, the fuck are you doing here? Like, you've been awful. And she literally goes to stab him immediately. They get in an actual fist fight.
Yeah.
He kicks her while she's down. She gives him a screwdriver to the neck, so he's gonna bleed out. But even so, she kicks him onto the saw table, turns it on, and saws him in fucking half, lengthwise.
It was awesome.
Hot dog ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hot dog. It is. I mean, you're not wrong. It is hot dog ways.
Yep.
You're right. But it was pretty gross. Not a fan.
Pretty gross. I mean, I think that's what this movie needs.
I think it works, and I do like the dichotomy of the very funny and the very gory sort of graphic nature of it. I think that dichotomy is cool, but this movie is not a one for me, and some of that is for this scene right here.
Sure.
I'm not going to like Terrifier if we ever do it. That's all I'm saying. It's not going to...
Yeah, I mean, Terrifier don't look this good. It is not well enough made.
Well, Terrifier didn't have this budget, I'd imagine. I honestly don't know, but...
Yeah, it did not have its budget. Anyway, she then sneaks out of the door because the cops have been called because they found Ryland's body. And she just kind of looks scared and lets the cops pass her because they know she's the one who got stabbed last night. And so she's banking on that. I was just like, oh no.
Yeah.
But she ends up in the hallway at the same time that Nyla, Josh, and Vince Vaughn's body / Millie's soul end up in the hallway. And they're like, oh, she's right there. And she just screams and is like, he's here, run. And they're like, oh no, now we have to run. So they run and jump into Josh's car, and it won't start initially, but then Josh gets it to turn over. They drive away. The campus police call in a report for basically in all units. The suspect has been spotted with black, female, and white, excited is what he says. White, excited.
I mean, that's accurate. It's still accurate.
Like, it's not wrong, I guess.
It's not wrong.
Yeah. They've been spotted with a black female and a white. Excited? Yeah.
Love it.
But again, it's just a background noise. Like, unless you're really listening for it, you don't catch it. But they get to Discount Bonanza, where they hide him in the fitting rooms and they're trying to find disguises. And while he's in the fitting room, this is when the mom comes in and is like, oh, sorry, I didn't know somebody was in here, but like, can I get you anything? And he's like, I'm just trying to try on polo. She's like, my husband had a pink polo. And she just like trauma dumps all over him.
It's amazing the level of trauma dump. And then she asks him out on a date. It's wild.
But not until they have a very like, I lost my dad, I lost my husband. And it is really her and her mom connecting in a way that they have not been able to when she's been in her other body.
It is sort of silly that in this moment they are able to actually sort of verbalize and talk about like what is causing the space between them.
Right.
And that's sort of that they're both dealing with grief.
Right. But they kind of reach a resolution. And then she asks him out and he's like, oh, I'm married. And she's like, oh no, I'm so sorry. But as that's happening, Charlene, the older sister, runs in and is like, where's your phone? Call Millie and make sure she's okay. Because she's chasing Nyla and Josh, thinking that they also have the suspect, which they do.
Yeah.
But so they give him an Aaron Rodgers mask. It looks kind of like the sketch on I Think You Should Leave, where he's just like, I don't even want to be around anymore. Just take it all off me.
Yo, that sketch takes a turn I was not expecting, and it got me. I like that sketch a lot. And it's right either before or after Coffin Flop, which is my favorite sketch.
It's right after Coffin Flop.
That's it.
Yeah.
So like I watch it a lot, and man, now I laugh out loud anytime I watch it. But the first time I watched it, I was like, I am so uncomfortable. Anyway.
I don't even want to be around anymore. What, like on Earth? Yeah, I don't want to be around. Well, okay, then take it off. But that's the whole show.
It's that turn that makes it so funny to me.
Oh, I love it so much. Anyway, they are at a mini golf place that I would love to attend because it's like a Halloween glow-in-the-dark mini golf.
I mean, it essentially is a haunted house mini golf course, and I could see there are places like Putt Shack. We have one here in town. I'm sure you've got probably a few out in LA.
Yeah.
But I could see them doing like a haunted house themed, I don't know, course or whatever for Halloween.
I went to a Twilight Zone themed mini golf in Las Vegas.
That sounds kind of fun. Twilight theme would be kind of cool.
No. Twilight Zone, not Twilight the vampires.
I'm out. Was it a haunted house?
No, but they had all the glow, like black light, glowy stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
they
okay,
had,
that would be fun.
You know, pig-faced people and the like a dimension of sight and mind and like that kind of.
I wanted it to be a Twilight theme one with black lights because then I would wear a white shirt and I would just be like, this is the body of a killer, Natalie.
My nails glowed. It was pretty cool.
Nice.
Anyway, she has kind of collected all the students there because they're not at school anymore because I think everyone gave up. And this is where she tells that one kid, she's like, I'm going to fucking kill you. Like, you make my vagina so dry, I'm going to kill you. And then so she kind of like goes into the mini golf and looks over her shoulder just to see who will follow her. And Booker follows her because I think Booker is worried about her. Where I think he's like, you seem like not yourself, basically. But who should show up but our friends, Nyla, Josh, and Vince Vaughn / Millie.
Yeah.
And so now they're all in the like golf course together, which again, the movie does a really good job of making sure that when kills happen, they're both kind of there.
Yeah.
So they get her across the face with a golf club. She's unconscious.
Yeah, it knocks her out.
Yeah. They get Booker on accident. So they take them both back to Josh's house.
I think that is like her not really understanding the strength she has while she's in Vince Vaughn's body, because she like runs through what is more or less like, what are those things called?
A lattice.
Yeah, like the lattice. She like literally jumps through it. And like as a part of that jump, as she's sort of landing, she like pushes him to.
She shoves him against a wall.
Yeah, and he hits his head on the wall and that knocks him out.
But so they're all at Josh's house and they have Millie's body tied to a chair. And Booker wakes up and he's like, hi, I know I look like Vince Vaughn. I promise I'm Millie, but like, please don't freak out. And Booker's freaking out and she's like, and recites this beautiful poem. And this, I think, is one of my favorite moments for Vince Vaughn in this movie because he fucking commits.
Yo, he nails
to
it.
that fucking poem. He nails it. Like the depth of emotion in that poem. I was just like, good job, Vince. Good job.
That was the moment I wrote in my notes. I just said that Vince Vaughn only plays the same character in every movie in our Mrs. and Mrs. Smith episode, and I was wrong. Hollywood needs to ask him to do other things because he can.
He can. I know he has done other things, but like this, I think I like, and I know this is kind of a small, goofy horror comedy that not a ton of people saw, but like you should and be impressed by Vince Vaughn doing the most. I like it. But so Booker believes it because he's the only one that knew about the poem.
Yeah.
But this is where they're like, okay, now we have to go steal the knife. And Millie's body, the murderer in Millie's body has woken up and is being a dick. And they're like, okay, we got to go steal the dagger and come back, but we got to leave Josh with the murderer. And this is where they get the discussion of pronouns in the movie because they call the murderer her and he's like him. And so they're like, okay, so at this point, him, her, and there is confusion. And they do say, they're like, I understand it's confusing. We'll do our best.
Yeah.
And then they go to the police station.
Which felt very real to me because that's how I feel every time it comes up on the show. I'm like, I'm so sorry. I'm going to do my best.
I'm trying my best.
I'm so sorry. If I get it wrong, feel free to correct me and I'll apologize.
But they get to the police station and Char's car is out front. So Nyla goes in and tells Charlene, like, he kidnapped us. He's around the back. And Charlene's like, okay, you stay here. I'll go look. And she uses that time to get into the like evidence closet where she gets the knife. But Char comes back and is like, I don't see anything out there. What is actually going on?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, back at Josh's house, Josh is watching Real Housewives and eating Cheetos. Sounds like a great night. And this is where we get the commercial for the Anus Theater.
Yeah.
The Anus Theater. But Josh's mom comes home early.
I love this moment. It's so funny to me.
Because she is a flight attendant and her last leg got canceled. She's like, why do you have Millie tied up? And Josh is like, oh, no, a role play. And she's like, isn't that a sex thing? And Josh is like, yes, mother, I am straight. And I love that Josh's mom is like, you're many things. Straight ain't one of them.
Yeah.
Like, what is happening?
She honestly seems like a great sort of in-touch mom, even though like we know she's a flight attendant and is gone for like days at a time. she's like, Josh, I know you. You're not straight. What's up, baby? Like, what's going on?
Yep. And as they untie her, Millie has managed to get a knife and immediately chases after them. Like the tables immediately turn.
Yeah.
And we get like a shining door stab.
It's great.
Where the knife gets stuck. But essentially, Millie's body, Vince Vaughn's soul, take off for the police station on foot. Meanwhile, back at the police station, in the car, this is where we have that moment of Booker like, do you mind if I come back there? Yeah, so about that poem. And she's like, it's a mistake. And he's like, I don't think it was a mistake. It was beautiful. I really liked it. And I hoped it was your poem. And she was like, no, really? And he's like, yeah, I kind of feel like kissing you right now. And she's like, oh, okay, but you would technically be kissing a mass murderer. And he's like, you're still Millie to me. And so they kiss. And she's like, actually, no, let's wait. Cause she's like, my hand is like your whole face.
Yeah.
Like, we can't do this. And he's like, all right, fine, but I'm not going anywhere. Like, whenever you want, I'm not going anywhere.
I loved that. I thought that was great.
It was amazing. But as they're sitting there, they see the murderer show up. He gets there in Millie's body.
Yeah.
And Charlene is like, oh, Millie, thank goodness. And literally, she's going to trust who she thinks is Millie.
Charlene is?
Charlene is.
Yeah, Charlene's going to trust Millie's body, the butcher, right?
Yeah.
Because that's what her sisters always looked like.
Right. And so actual Millie and Booker run in and they're like, no. And immediately Charlene's like, the murderer. Oh my God.
I mean, she even takes a shot at him, but like Millie in Vince Vaughn's body jumps out of the way.
Right. She does manage to lock Charlene into like the holding cell.
Through a little bit of deceit and trickery, but in that like ensuing madness of her taking a shot at Millie and Vince Vaughn's body, Vince Vaughn and Millie's body grabs the dagger and runs out, like leaves, right?
Yeah.
And so as Charlene's taking Vince Vaughn to put him in the jail cell, Vince Vaughn disarms her more or less and throws Charlene in the jail cell and then locks it. And it's like, I'm so sorry, I love you. And like even does like a mwah, like kiss to her, which I thought was so funny to me.
She also says to like prove that she is Millie, she's just like, I really did think hamsters could swim. I'm so sorry.
She admits that like she murdered her hamster on accident.
On accident.
Yeah, it's so sad. But like Millie has run out and gotten in Charlene's cop car and is driving at Josh.
Right.
And Josh is like yelling Charlene and eventually like doesn't hit Josh, but like, you know, gets close.
Josh jumps out of the way.
Yeah, like gets close.
Yeah.
He's like, Charlene, 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 Charlene. Let me tell you, your sister looks like a man or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
Something like that. But when they run out, Josh is like, your sister's a terrible driver.
Yeah.
It's very funny to me. Like, that wasn't my sister. That was the killer idiot. Let's get it.
Right.
And they've got the dagger.
So now they go to the old mill where the substitute homecoming party is. And they have 13 minutes left. So they set a timer on a watch and they have to go stab the killer. And so this is also where we get the Letterman jacketed jock who's like, I've never made a pussy dry. You think you're hot shit? Come on. Like, I'm going to show you. And she just follows him because she's going to kill him.
Yeah.
And everyone else arrives at the party. They're all looking to see if they can stab her. Meanwhile, killer has gone out into the alley with 3 jocks who are like, you're pretty good at math. You got 3 holes. There's 3 of us. It all adds up. And they hand her a bottle as if to like get her drunk to make her more pliant.
Well, she goes to grab it.
Yeah. She pours it out. She bashes one guy against the head, breaking the bottle, and then slices another dude's neck with the bottle shards. And then she fist fights the last dude until she finds a chainsaw. And he's like, no. And she's just like, And he, as he backs up, trips over his unconscious friends. And she chainsaws him in the dick until he dies.
Chainsaws him in the dick to death is not something I had on my what's going to be in the freaky movie bingo card. Like that, I didn't see that coming. But thought it was great.
I've been on a real dick destruction movie picking tear.
You really have.
I have forgotten that it happens every time, but boy, does it happen.
Yeah, man, it happened in this movie. We even see it later when they walk in, like someone walks in and sees this scene. I think it's Booker.
Yeah.
And like we see, like it like went deep in there. Like she crouched, yeah. She got it.
Yeah, it was bad.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, they have Vince Vaughn in the Aaron Rodgers mask, and they are trying to like find her. They can't find her. Another jock at the party is like, "Oh, hey, Josh, I totally know where Millie is. Come with me." He follows that jock out to the alley where that jock tries to kiss him. And Josh is like, no. And he's like, well, you know what? You're a loser. And he's like, if you tell anybody, I'll fucking kill you. And then literally he backs up against a wall. A hook hand comes out from the wall, and it is the serial killer immediately murdering that guy.
Literally, like, hook hand grabs him through the eye and pulls him through the drywall.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Brutal.
Yeah.
But at this point, everyone else kind of arrives because they heard Josh scream. And Vince Vaughn comes up and is like, I want my body back. And she just goes, come and get it. Which is fucking great. It's a great line.
It is great.
But who should have arrived but also the cops? So there's a gunshot. It kind of stops everyone. They have to like push the cop out of the way. They end up fighting. They have to chase her down. And Nyla and Josh end up having to hold her down, but the alarm goes off.
Yeah. Like it's too late.
But Booker always sets his watch 5 minutes ahead, saves his ass every time. And so Vince Vaughn stabs her, and now they flip back. But now my first thought was like, okay, but now they got to fight the killer in Vince Vaughn's body, which like that's harder. But who should show up just in time but the cops, who shoot Vince Vaughn? And he seemingly dies. Or does he? Of course not. It's a slasher movie.
Of course not. Yeah.
Anyway, we cut to after. She's sitting with Booker in the ambulance. They make out. It's very cute. She goes home, and as they're all kind of getting ready for bed, we cut to the ambulance where they're like, his pulse and heart rate is down. We think he's going to code, and it's because he's taken the sensor off his finger. And those ambulance drivers, I would assume, are very dead now.
Well, and also, that would have been the first thing they checked. But if they weren't like too busy having this little meet cute, they'd have noticed that like, oh, he just took the sensor off.
Yeah.
But in all fairness, and this is a terrible thing I did once to my mom didn't notice I took the sensor off when I tried to play that joke on her the night the accident happened.
No.
Yeah. I was super high on
no.
drugs, whatever they put me on, and I have been told I did that.
Oh, no. That's not good.
I don't remember it, but I can also see it. Like, I could see me doing that, like, as a bit, but, like, it's because I was very high on whatever they gave me in.
Sure.
Because I had been in a car accident that day.
Morphine or whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, they're back at the house, and they have kind of a great little conversation of like, hey, I want you to go to that school in Boston where, you know, hey, we all love each other, live your lives. We're going to do better.
It's sort of like you would see in a movie that's trying to wrap itself up, but we've also been getting scenes signifying that Vince Vaughn's not actually dead. So there's going to be something. It's not over yet, you know?
Right. We do hear creaking throughout the house and creaking in the kitchen after everyone's kind of gone to bed. And so she shuts the outside door and walks into the kitchen, and he is right behind her.
Yeah.
And this is where Charlene jumps out, but he's taking the bullets out of her gun. But all three of them, her mom, Charlene, and Millie, all like beat the shit out of him until, and he does kind of hold her down. He's like, when I was in your body, I understand why you feel weak, because like, fuck you. Like, this is not a life, basically. Like, you are weak. And like, she kicks him in the balls because she's like, I learned something in your body too. Having balls sucks. Kicks him. When he's down on the floor, she stakes him through the heart and then kicks it through to make sure it goes to the other side. And then ends the movie by saying, I am a fucking piece. And you're just like,
it's awesome.
Yes!
It's great. Yeah. And that's the movie. So having seen the movie, having talked about the movie, what'd you think about Freaky Friday the 13th?
I like it. It's a fun little, short little high school comedy movie. I enjoyed it quite a bit.
I had a lot of fun watching it. I definitely understand why people started talking about it when it first came out. I think had it not come out like during COVID, it would have done way better in theaters. But I mean, I think it's a pretty great horror comedy.
Yeah.
Y'all should check it out. But Paige, do you have any fun facts for us?
I do.
Well, here it is with your fun facts.
Freaky fun facts. So part of the reason that I think we liked this movie so much is it's very similar to another movie or a series of movies that we have done that I think actually predate me on the podcast, but I have enjoyed them a lot, which are the Happy Death Days.
Yeah.
They were written by the same person.
Yeah, I think, didn't the person who also wrote this write It's a Wonderful Knife?
Let me double check. Possibly. That would not surprise me at all.
I read that while I was researching box office because it's Christopher Landon and he's one of the writers as well, but he directed it. But the other guy, and I can't remember his name, wrote It's a Wonderful Knife.
Okay.
But Christopher Landon's the guy who did the Happy Death Days. So like, I love Happy Death Days and I love It's a Wonderful Knife. So the fact that this is both of those guys.
Yeah, It's a Wonderful Knife was really, really fun as well.
Yeah. So the fact that it's both of these guys that like created this, I'm like, no wonder I liked it, you know?
Yeah. And first fun fact out of the gate, the original name of the film was Freaky Friday the 13th.
Nice. Okay, perfect.
Yes. Catherine Newton was their first choice for Millie, but she had originally turned it down. But Jason Blum spoke with her specifically, and she changed her mind. Now, the original pitch was a crossover movie with Happy Death Day called Freaky Death Day.
Oh, I love that.
But they ultimately let it stand alone on its own.
I mean, and it does. I don't think it needs to be connected at all.
Yeah. There's an early shot in the movie where Vince Vaughn gets hit by a car, and he told the stunt driver to actually hit him with the car, and the director said Vince Vaughn said he could take the hit, and he did. And that is him doing the stunt.
No shit. Okay.
So at the football game, we find out that Booker's last name is Strode, a reference to Laurie Strode from the Halloween series.
Of course. Yeah.
Yep. Now, typically with horror movies, they try to release them in October or during the summer. This was released November 13th, 2020, because it was a Friday the 13th. And that was like mid-pandemic. So it didn't really matter if people were going to go to the theaters or not, you know.
Yeah, we'll talk about that some.
So there is a shot in the movie where Josh shows Grindr on their phone. And in the director's commentary, they said that they couldn't get approval to use various search engines, which is why later on it's a fake article and search engine when they look up the knife. But Grindr was completely fine using their app in the film as long as the character using it was 18. So Josh is canonically 18.
Perfect. That makes me honestly way happier.
Along with Freaky Friday the 13th, potentially optional titles were Killer Body, which I also think is a great title. If I got this as a script and that was the title, that would be great. Now, inspirations for the movie, there's a number of things that are referenced directly in the movie, but they also cited Fright Night, The Blob, the 80s Blob, Scream, Scream 2, Urban Legend, Cherry Falls, and Jennifer's Body as inspirations for the movie. And this does feel kind of Jennifer's Body-ish. I still prefer Jennifer's Body, and I feel like Lisa Frankenstein is a different kind of spiritual sequel to Jennifer's Body. Very different, but I still vibes. But it doesn't surprise me that that was something that they really liked for this movie. Now, the Pitch Perfect 2 poster is actually the poster from Pitch Perfect, but they added the text to say 2.
Well, I think that was because the joke actually is, what's your favorite movie, when they're asking, and she's like, I tell everyone it's Eternal Sunlight.
Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
That's what it is. But it's really Pitch Perfect too. And I love that. Not that people don't actually like that movie, but like, you know, that's more of an art house film that like, I don't know, it played well. The joke made me laugh.
I think they just couldn't find a Pitch Perfect 2 poster and had to make one.
I think so too.
Like, I knew it was Pitch Perfect in the script, but I think it was just art department like, well, we have one, so I guess we'll just add a 2 to it.
Just slap a 2 on in the same font.
Slap a 2 on it in the same font.
Yeah.
So the mask vaguely resembles a hockey mask, but later he wears an Aaron Rodgers mask as a reference to Michael Myers wearing a William Shatner mask in Halloween.
Yeah. I do like how when he's got the mask on, he's like running into people and like shopping carts, and like, it's very funny because he can't see shit.
Yes, it is. And he can't turn his head either like Batman. It's pretty great. Now, Freaky Friday was originally a 1972 novel by Mary Rodgers that has been made and remade into multiple films by Disney and used as the kind of jumping off point for a number of movies, including this one. The basics of the story involve 2 people who swap bodies as a result of some sort of magic. When Millie is asked what her favorite snack is, she replies with triple berry gushers. But what she is actually talking about is a discontinued flavor of fruit gushers known as triple berry shock, which was introduced in the early to mid 2000s and then discontinued. Much like the Altoid sours that are coming back. I'm so fucking excited about that. Those were delicious.
I don't love sour flavors, so I'm going to let you have that.
I will have it.
Have it all you want.
I will have it back in my life, and I'm super excited about it. Millie's mom drinks swan song wine. A swan song is usually the phrase meaning the last thing someone does before death.
Yeah.
So basically symbolizing that she is kind of treating her life as if it's over. The town square in the movie is Covington, Georgia, which is actually the same town square that they used in the first 5 Dukes of Hazzard episodes.
Wait, really?
Yep. Vince Vaughn has actually played serial killers twice before because he plays Norman Bates in the remake of
You're
Psycho
right,
from 1998, which we have not watched yet, and Lester Long in Clay Pigeons from that same year.
Okay.
Catherine Newton has claimed that playing the role of the butcher caused her to have sore feet and remarked that she wished she would have been able to play the part barefoot. I think it's a combination of she's wearing like boots as opposed to just the tennis shoes that her character had before.
Yeah.
And walking very, like, her physicality changes when she is the killer.
I mean, both of them do.
Both of them do. And I think she's walking very briskly, and that's partially why. Now, Millie Kessler's last name is probably a reference to An American Werewolf in London, where the lead character is named David Kessler. Now, in the arcade that we briefly visit, there's a Jurassic Park game. And this is also after they fight the killer in the kitchen, also not at Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
But it's acknowledged in the end credits. And they included both of these things because Vince Vaughn actually appeared in The Lost World Jurassic Park 2 from 1997.
I didn't realize that.
This movie actually potentially would have had a theatrical release. It was scheduled to be released in Poland because their COVID numbers had gone down enough that they could go to theaters.
Oh.
But then the premiere was canceled
Yeah.
due to concerns over the coronavirus outbreak. And those are your fun facts.
Well, thank you for those fun facts, Paige. Let's talk a little bit about box office. So what do you think the production budget was for Freaky in 2020?
I think they got a big old film credit from Georgia, and they probably spent about $10 million on this. And it looks great for that $10 million.
I think it does look great, but looks great for $6 million.
Good for them.
Yeah.
Fuck yes.
Now, that budget is not 100% confirmed. I also saw $5 million somewhere. So in between that, probably.
But here's what I'm saying. Like, this is why when people spend a ton of money on shitty movies, I'm like, no. Amazing things can be done for great budgets when you have a good script and a good story and a good director and great actors willing to commit to it. That's why this movie is good.
Agreed. If you adjust for inflation, even at $6 million, that's roughly 7.3 today. Now, this movie, as Paige mentioned, did come out sort of like deep into coronavirus. It was November of 2020. It was November 13th, to be specific. Do you want to guess what day of the week that was? It was number 1 the week it came out. Freaky was number 1, obviously. Let Him Go was number 2. The War with Grandpa was number 3. Come Play was number 4. And number 5 was Honest Thief. These are all movies I've never heard of, except for Freaky.
Yeah, no, it was not a good time.
Well, I mean, people were holding movies back because they were like, no one's going to go see them. By the way, number 6 was Tenet.
Which I also still have not seen.
Well, yeah.
I've heard mixed reviews. I was home watching every documentary I could get my hands on and just Tiger Kinging it out.
I think we were all deep in the Tiger King thing at this point.
Yeah.
But Paige, let me ask, and for all you cats and kitties out there, what do you think the box office receipts were for its first week in theaters?
I'm going to say like $500K, but they probably made it all on streaming. And so it probably still has made its money back. We just won't be able to see it.
Paige, I'm happy to report in its first week, it made $3.6 million, which is...
Oh, good for them.
It's very sad because it was number 1 for 2 weeks and it only brought in those 2 weeks, like $5.6 million. Like, I do think had it not been coronavirus, it may have been number 1 in theaters. Other movies probably would have been out, so It may not have stacked up as good against those, but it would have made a shitload more money in theaters, obviously.
Yeah.
But it ended up topping out at $9 million domestically and $9 million internationally for a total of $18 million. So it did make money because of the low budget nature, but it didn't make, I'm sure, as much as they had hoped it would. It also did bring in just over $3 million in domestic DVD and Blu-ray sales. So, I mean, it made money. I bet if I was Vince Vaughn, and I probably did this for points on the back end because I believed in it, I would be so sad that it came out during COVID. But
yeah,
he should be really proud of his performance in it. Like, it's all great. Like, everyone's great in it. And I think this is a movie that people will watch pretty regularly for a while. Anyway, that's your box office.
It's fun on a rewatch, too. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, I'm sure it is, because you'll catch stuff I'm sure that I missed the first time through. Yeah. I mean, I'll definitely watch it again. But Paige, do you want to hit us with that scary scale?
Our scary scale is a scale of 1 to 10 of how scary we found the movie today. 1 being Ghostbusters, 10 being Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Todd.
I'm going to give it a 2. The Ferris Bueller's friend being half a day off was pretty gross. But also there's a scene where I think it's Josh is walking through the haunted house mini golf place and there's like a skeleton jump scare and it got me, man. I jumped.
I have it in my notes. I was like, this definitely got Todd.
It did definitely get me. So I'm going to give it a 2, but it's not that scary. It's more just funny, honestly.
Yeah, I've got it as a 1 because for me, this is a necessary amount of gore for this type of film. But that's your scary scale.
I do think it's a good amount of gore. So this week, Paige made us watch Freaky.
But
next week, it's the listener request. And this month, the listener request theme was Back to School month.
Back to school.
And so in your infinite wisdom, the listeners whittled down all of the movies to these 4 movies. And those movies were Cooties, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Black Coat's Daughter, and The Faculty, which we've already done, but Paige, you weren't on that episode. And the listeners chose The Faculty, so we will be revisiting The Faculty with Paige next week. So that's your homework. Don't miss out.
There you go. And I will tell people ahead of time because there are a lot of options. But October, as it typically is a sequel month. We've already picked a handful. But just so you guys remember some things that are on the table. Blade Trinity. Prom Night 2. Hello, Mary Lou. Prom Night 2. All the Hellraisers after Hellraiser 2. Like, you have so many options for sequel month. And it's going to be a great month.
We'll have to see. All I heard was the movies Paige didn't pick for her movies in sequel month. And her pleas for you guys to pick one of the other ones that were just about to make the cut but didn't quite.
Do you have any reviews for us, Todd?
I do. In fact, I also have some Spotify comments. And this one's from our most recent episode. And I'm just going to read it without telling you which episode it is because it sort of like makes sense. And this is from Clarity. And they say, "Oh my God, I forgot it was Friday the 13th. We love more Horror Virgin." So yeah, it was Friday the 13th. And I hope you guys enjoyed our special episode that came out that day. So if you want to have me read your Spotify comment or Apple 5-star review, do one of those things and I will do just that. So guys, if you like this show but want to hear Paige and I talk about romantic comedies or just regular romantic movies, check out our other podcast. Some might call it a sister podcast called Romancing the Pod, where we do just that weekly. It's a lot like this show, but for romance and romantic comedies, because Paige doesn't like them. So we make her watch them, just like you guys make me watch horror over here. But if you want to follow me, I am at Todd J. Awesome on all the social media. Paige is at Rampage Wesley on Instagram?
Yes, and TikTok.
And just Paige Wesley on Twitter, because you got that before some CEO lady and she wanted it, but you wouldn't give it back. And I respect you for that.
Refuse.
Also, Paige
Suck it, other Paige Wesley.
Paige is also on another podcast. It's great. You should check it out. It's called Cult Podcast with Armando Torres, who is a wonderful person. And if you want to support this show, go to Patreon at patreon.com/horrorvirgin, where there are a lot of great levels and a lot of great things. We do the Patreon shout outs at the beginning of every episode. We do listener requests, stuff like that, bonus episodes. So you'll be getting all of that content, plus episodes a day early with no ads, and who doesn't love that? So sign up for the Patreon and get a lot of great stuff.
And that's going to be it for us, you guys, on Paige.
And I'm your horror virgin, Todd.
Keep it ooky spooky.
Yeah. Have an amazing week, guys. Bye! Vince Vaughn might be a murderer, nerds.